3 to 4 weeks ago, I was in a very dark place. I got sick and was laying in bed for 4 days straight, which is torture to me because I want to be active and do stuff. And at the same time, I was having issues at work, which really helped me spiral down into a darker and darker place. And what it all boiled down to, the essence of that darkness, the essence of that sadness or unfulfilled feeling, was really loneliness. You see, I really love to travel. I really love to go to places on my own and explore. And part of traveling alone is very often loneliness, because I go to places where I don't know anyone and I'm relying on myself. But that loneliness was so intense that I couldn't bear with it, and I started just craving to go back home. Even though for so long I've been wanting and dreaming about going to Barcelona and living here, all I could think about in that moment was just to go home with my friends, with my family, where I knew people, I knew stuff, I knew what to do, I had things to do, events to go to, people to hang out with. And it made me think about how society is in a way set up so that we can have our basic needs met. We get the knowledge that we need to get in life through school systems, educational systems. A lot of the times that's where we get our friendships, because that those schools have systems set up so that we can engage in social activities, social contact, and that way get our social needs met, our needs for connection with each other. The same in our jobs. We have different social situations set up so that we can have those needs met and engage, and that's where we often find that we get our friendships or that we get our relationships that goes with us throughout our lives. Similar, education is often designed so that you'll get tailored towards a specific job, or that's at least the idea, that you'll get the education so you can get a specific job, which also then helps society run around. So again, the knowledge that you need to get a job, to pay for your food, to pay for your physical bodily needs, to get your health needs met, is also in a system that's set up so that you can just go along with the system and you don't have to consciously think too much about planning the future and systematizing your future, systematizing what you're doing and making a plan for how you'll do things to get your needs met, because that is taken care of by the society systems that we've set up. So in a way, we give away our control, we give away our responsibility to the society, to the system, so that we don't have to be in control of it, so that we can just rest and push that responsibility away. And personally, I've had a very hard time struggling with taking responsibility on, because taking responsibility on can be very frustrating when there are so many things that are outside of our control. So if we are to make ourselves feel responsible for them, it can very often bring along with it a sense of anxiety, a sense of fear, because what if it goes wrong? Since it's not in our control, we can't necessarily prevent it from going wrong, even though we are in a way responsible for it. And which is also why it's really nice for a lot of people to be able to rely on society, because then they don't have to consciously think about things, they don't have to fear or feel anxious about the future, because they can rely on society. Now, even though we might have that security, the problem becomes when we then feel unfulfilled, because we are reliant on a system that don't make us feel fulfilled necessarily. And now we don't have any power to change it, because we've given that power away to that system. We've given away our responsibility, our control over our own life, over our own fulfillment to that system. And so what happened in my situation, when I started thinking, how can I start feeling fulfilled again? How can I get my social needs met? How can I have friendships here in this city where I don't know anyone? And I hated to plan things, because I love being spontaneous. I love being in the moment. I love doing things that I just feel like in that moment. But it occurred to me that I needed to plan out my weekends when I had a lot of free time, so that they didn't go to waste, so that I could use them to get my social needs met, so I could use them to develop friendships and meet people that I could be in contact with that would make me enjoy Barcelona a lot more. So I wanted to make a video talking about this topic because a lot of the times when we aren't fulfilled, we can complain and we can explain why we aren't fulfilled, and we might be completely right and it might be completely unfair. But at the end of the day, we are responsibility for ourselves and our emotional state, our needs being met. And we can give that responsibility away to someone else to get a peace of mind. And at the same time, if we take it upon ourselves, we'll be able to directly influence that aspect of our life. We'll be able to directly influence or even to some degree control our level of happiness, our level of fulfillment. So the question then becomes, how can I take that responsibility on myself? Or rather, why don't more of us take that responsibility on ourselves? That's what you see with so many entrepreneurs that are changing the world or even just changing their own lives, is that the difference between them and the average person is the responsibility that they take for the outcome. And again, the question then is, well, why don't more of us do it? Because it seems to be quite obvious in a sense. It seems to be quite logical. And what I find when I examine myself and look at others is that it's simply because of a desire to avoid that anxiety as a way of escaping that fear and not having to feel guilty or shameful about the bad things in our lives. Which then the conclusion ends up being, if we can give ourselves compassion, if we can give ourselves self-love and acceptance despite whatever it is, while still taking responsibility for it, then we'll gain immense power. Because at the end of the day, someone might have done something to upset us, someone might have wronged us, might have broken our heart, might have fucked up our job, financial situation, might have fucked up our family life, and it might be completely 100% their fault. But at the end of the day, what happens in our lives are our responsibility. And so even though it might be their fault, we can't rely on them to fix it. And if we do, we would often be very disappointed and depressed and miserable because they won't fix it. We can only rely on ourselves to be responsible for everything that is in our lives. And so by accepting that and taking that responsibility, and by understanding we don't have to feel shameful and guilty about the stuff that are in our lives, we don't have to hold hatred towards ourselves because of it, but we can still take responsibility for it. That is such a fucking powerful combination that if we can realize that, we'll be extraordinary and we'll be able to achieve so much more. But more importantly than what we can achieve, we'll be able to feel so much more fulfilled in our lives. So again, if we can take responsibility in our lives while still keeping compassion for ourselves, for our flaws, for the stuff that we don't like, we'll be so fucking powerful and we'll be able to live much more happy and fulfilled lives. So to quickly finish the story as well, when I started taking responsibility and ownership over my social needs being met, over my need for connection being met, I started planning out my weekends because I knew that was what was missing, that I didn't have a structure over what I could spend my weekends doing that would help me make those needs met. So I started going out, I started going to these events that I found and meeting people. I started going out of my comfort zone because I knew that's what I had to do to get in conversations with people that I didn't know that were strangers to me. And as I was doing that, I had a ton of amazing weekends, I had a ton of amazing experience connecting with people that now are friends for me. Now that I've met them, I can contact while I'm here in Barcelona and hang out with and actually have a really fucking good time and actually really enjoy the city, because it's so fucking much more enjoyable when you have people to enjoy it with. And so as I did that, it completely changed the way that I was viewing the city, the way that I was feeling fulfilled on a daily basis, my happiness and my energy levels, because as I was doing it, I started being a lot more energized from meeting all of these people, from being active, from being proactive and doing something about it. And I felt a sense of pride for actually taking control over something, which is a huge aspect of it, because when we leave that control to someone else, we don't really feel excited for the things that comes into our lives. We don't really feel proud for the things that we have in our lives, because it's not something that we created. But when we take control over it, not only will we be in such a powerful state, we'll be so much more impactful on our own lives when we are responsible, or we admit our responsibility for it, but also we'll start feeling so much more confident and prideful about the things that we have in our lives, because we fucking created it, we fucking did it. We didn't rely on some system to help us. We did it on our own because we were taking control of it. So I hope that can inspire you to take responsibility for one area of your life that you don't feel fulfilled in. And if it did, please do subscribe and please do like the video. I would highly appreciate it, and thank you for watching. Remember to stay true to you.